Again, this is medical diagnosis. This is a medical diagnosis AI project, and this is the exploratory data analysis performed on it. First of all, exploratory data analysis is a technique to understand various aspects of the data. Yes, it helps you understand the faults of the data, the similarities, and yes, it helps you also remove the redundancies. So which steps do we take when performing EDA? You have to first import pandas library. You also have to import seabonds as an SNS. And then you also have to import matplot.pyplot. Yes, the pandas helps us work with our data. The matplotlib helps us plot charts, and the seabonds helps us make the charts more prettier. Then we have to read our file. Our file is a CSV. So we are going to name it data, and that's the command for reading it. So we determine the number of columns by calling the .column command as shown on input line 4. And this is the output. It gives you all the columns you have in your data set. These are the columns we have. And you can also determine the shape by going through this. So cleaning the data set. First, we have to determine the null values in the data set. And to determine that, we are going to call the data.isNull.sum command, and we shall determine the null values. For example, BCR status has 23 null values. We have to clean this. Okay, when we then drop the columns we don't need in our database. For example, it's not necessary to have both patient ID and sample ID in this our project because they literally have the same information. Here you see it's the patient ID and the sample ID, they have the same information as you can see. So it's not essential having them all. So we're gonna keep one of them, and we shall drop the sample ID. Correlation matrix. A correlation matrix is a table showing correlation coefficients between variables. Sorry. The command we use for this is correlation is equal to new.core to create the correlation. Then we call the sns.heatmap command and we annotate it to true so that it gives the values on each box, the ones you see in the boxes, and we will be able to determine the similarities. Then we can also create a box plot, and a box plot is a graphical representation of a data distribution in a data set. It can contain all data or only one column of the data. When it contains one, it's going to look like this. This one only contains for diagnosis age, and this contains for all. Then outliers in our data set. How do we determine the outliers? It's still by coming up with a box plot. This is the very box plot of diagnosis age. So these small circles see at the far ends mean these are the outliers. These are the values out of our normal scope. So they are outliers. They range between 70 to 80, 30 to 34. Then patterns. So patterns of interest. What are we interested in? The displot. Below, this is what we call a displot. It shows the range of maybe like this is for age, this down part is for the age, and the count, like this shows that between maybe 40 and 50, this is the high. This contains the highest number of people affected by the cancer, the prostate cancer. And the fewest people are those between 30 to 40, and then between 50 to 60, they are a little more as they keep on reducing. And splitting our data into a train, validation, and test sets. Train, valid, test, split is a technique to evaluate performance of your machine learning model. So to do that, we have to first import train, valid, test, split from first ml.model development. And then we will run this, and we select one of our values in our data set, the pre-op PSA. The pre-op PSA, this, and we put it there, and we'll be able to determine we'll be able to divide our data into 3 parts. The one for training the data set, one for validating, and one for testing. 0.8% is for 0.8 out of 1 is for train size, then 0.1 for valid size, and test size 0.1. And this is our output. Then fitting initial model. Fitting models to data is one of the key scientific works. You have to fit your model, and to fit it, this is how we do it. And tuning hyperparameters is the process of determining the right combination of hyperparameters that maximizes the model's performance. There are 3 methods of doing this: the random search, the informed search, and the grid search. Well, it was quite difficult for me, so I did not come up with it yet. Maybe I'm going to go through it later. Evaluation on validation set. Validation set is a set of data used to train AI with the goal of finding and optimizing the best model and solve a problem. And this is how we did it. Yes.